What's going on, everybody? Dogman Dan here. We are in Warframe, and we're going to take a look at the Karyst. I'm rebuilding the Karyst. I was asked if I could take a look at it again by Death Sniper 89 in one of my comments the other day, and sure enough, not a problem to do it. And the biggest thing here is that he managed to get the Covert Lethality mod and wants to know a little bit more about that and whether it's useful enough and how you would put it together. So we're readdressing my Karyst setup, but the main focus here is to talk about Covert Lethality and how we can make this work. It works on your single daggers, so you've got your ceramic dagger, your dark dagger, your heat dagger, your Karyst, and your sheave, which is my favorite. I think most people know that by now. And if you haven't run those sortie missions for that sheave, I know it's over there on consoles finally. Get your butts in there, man. Get that sheave, man. It's actually pretty freaking insane once you get it working. So focusing on Covert Lethality, there's two parts to the actual mod itself. And it's a spy mission reward, okay? What you see, just as FYI on the wiki is not up to date with this mod. Nobody's ever gone back and fixed the page on it, so it's not up to date properly. But there's two parts to it, and it works in several ways, and it's quite a nice mod. Okay. Part number one, it adds 100 extra damage on your melee attacks. Basically, it adds 100 extra base bonus damage to your weapon. So the Karyst has a 50 toxin base. When you add Covert Lethality, you automatically get a 150 base. Okay. This base is also going to affect your damage from your element mods that you add on top of it. So your regular baseline is a 50 toxin. If you add in elements on top of that, you get, you know, your increased 90% and so forth and so on. If you add Covert Lethality, your new baseline to start at on damage is going to be 150 toxin. And I'll show you that in my setup here in a minute, how that affects it. I mean, it makes a big difference in the damage numbers that you get out of the weapon just by adding this in and having that 100 extra base points. Okay, and then the second part of this is going to be lethal damage on your finisher attacks. Now, that's not just stealth finishers. This is regular finisher attacks now. It does not include ground finishers, so just keep that in mind, but just regular finishers this will work on. So basically what this does is basically lethal kill, more or less. So we're not worried about, in terms of modding, adding more finisher damage, because we don't need to. The point of this mod is if you can get your finisher on an enemy, he's going down instantly. Doesn't matter the enemy. Doesn't matter what it is. It's an insta-kill. That's the whole point of this mod, right? So we're going to keep that in mind when we're actually utilizing this. Now, this does work on several frames really well. We can utilize it on Ash's teleport, when he comes out of his teleport. We can utilize this on Excalibur's Radio Blind. We can utilize it on Banshee's Savage Silence Augment, because the Augment actually opens up enemies for finishers as the standard stun performed from the ability doesn't, but the Augment does. Okay, on Valkyr's Paralysis. Now here's the thing, it's not on the Prolonged Paralysis Augment. So if you're actually running Prolonged Paralysis Augment mod, you're going to want to take that off in order to make Covert Lethality work for you. If you don't, what happens is the Prolonged Paralysis opens up for ground finishers, not melee finishers. So it's actually hurting you instead of helping you. Okay, so just keep that in mind. On Equinox's Rest, we can utilize this on Wukong's Cloud Walker. By activating and deactivating Cloud Walker, this opens us up for melee finishers. We can use that there. On Ivara's Sleep Arrows, we can use it there. On deactivation of Mirage's Prism, that opens up for finishers. We can do that there. And then on Anara's desiccation, which is what I like, we definitely can use it there because we know that the whole point of that is not only to steal health, but to actually open up for finishers, melee finishers. So over and over and over and over, you can use this with Anaros and just boom, dead, boom, dead, boom, dead. Especially if you can get those finishers in. So and it's not hard. If you take a look at my Anaros setup, I'll have a link up there at the right hand corner of the video. You can go ahead and click on the little eye. It'll show you the link to my setup if you haven't seen it yet. It's a wonderful, wonderful frame. And that's the whole way that it works. So with that said, let's go ahead and actually go over to my setup on the Karyst, my new setup on the Karyst, just so you guys can see how we're making this work. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now, a couple things in mind. Let me first go over here and flip this out, flip back in so you can see where the numbers are here. Okay, Pointed Wind is our combo stance mod, if you will. It's a really nice one. We're keeping it simple, stupid, if you will. Just looking at some of the stuff that we really want to focus on here. Our status comes into play really quickly. Don't have to worry about that too much. Just by adding just a couple of the dual stat mods, we're already up at a 42% status on top of what we normally get. Okay, I'm running Heat Corrosive. It's a combination I like to run the most. Just like it. You can obviously shift this around based off of what your needs would be. Let's say you wanted to focus on a particular thing. You could use radiation. You could use viral. You obviously could use blast. Whatever you want to do, you could set it up that way. But in combination wise, I like to go with corrosive and heat. I just like I like the procs that it offers, and it just works for me. But you're looking at this really simple, right? And again, we're focusing here on this Covert Lethality as this mod. Oop, there goes my phone. As this mod shows it 100 extra damage on your melee attacks or lethal damage on your finishers. Okay. So, and we were talking about it changing the way your base damage works. So come over here, and I'm showing you with Covert Lethality and Fever Strike installed. We'd have a 285 damage as our number. Now, if I were to take Covert Lethality out, my base damage number is now 95. So without Covert Lethality, we're looking at a base damage of 95 toxin increase. We add the extra 100 points, and of course that increases our baseline. So our baseline starts at 150 plus another 90%. Brings us up to 285 when we start out with. So you can see how this number changes. Now, showing it from this end, we're looking at a, let's see, how's the easiest way to do it. If you're looking at the larger number, look at the wall attack number here. 1978 is our wall attack number. It's easiest for you to get that grasp of what happens when I remove this Covert Lethality. We go down to 1518. So we're gaining roughly 400 damage points, if you will, extra damage just by having this Covert Lethality on here, based off of the elements taking the increase off of that base that we get. So it's a big difference, you know what I'm saying? I mean, 440 corrosive versus 840 corrosive. I mean, it's essentially 400 more damage points we get out of it. I'm going with Fury because I wanted a faster attack speed. This just works for me this way, and really I just do that if I want to make it look good. Pressure point, just a basic in here. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you can work without this. If you want to add just a more straight up elemental, you can do that, but you won't get 120% melee damage. You'll only get the extra 90%, but you can do that. It's entirely possible actually to do that. But then I just went with Fever Strike, Virulent Scourge, Shocking Touch, Voltaic Strike. Those four combined for this nice corrosive. And then I just put Volcanic Edge in here for the 126 heat and giving me the 42% status chance, which it does proc an awful lot. And a 0.975 is actually a really, really good number here. It works. And sometimes we tend to want to overdo setups, and really you don't need to. We don't need Weeping Wounds. Yeah, you get status chance stacking, but not a big thing. Not really into those new ones that are out there, to be honest with you, just the way that they work. Shattering Impact, we don't have really impact damage, so useless mod, though I do like Shattering Impact on other weapons. But that's it. I mean, it's really simple how you put it together, and the numbers don't seem like they're crazy, but remember when we're talking at this final setup here, we're adding an additional 400 base damage points, basically, once you've stacked everything, and you're getting that insta-kill with the lethal damage on your finisher. So, comments, questions below. Again, Covert Lethality works on all single daggers, so you can try this out on all the different daggers that I mentioned earlier in the video and see how it works for you. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys next episode. Thanks for watching as always. We'll see you soon.